Okay. Hi, everybody. It's Miss Hirst. I have missed you so much this week. I have missed standing out in the hallway and greeting you as you come down the hall and seeing your smiling faces and all of the hugs. You truly do make my world a brighter spot just by being in it. So I am very sad to be away from you this week and for the next week. But we are going to get through this coronacation together in style, and we have an amazing opportunity to use technology to stay connected as you are learning remotely from home. So I know it's weird trying to do all of your reading material at home with all of your amazing familiar things around you. It's very different trying to teach from home. I'm not used to talking to a laptop. I'm used to talking to my kids and really engaging with the material that way. But nevertheless, we are going to use what we have at our fingertips to keep moving forward and to keep learning. So, that being said, I wanted to address a couple of things. We know that the students have been given the learning packets, which gives you essentially passages and questions. Just because I am not there with you does not mean that I don't want you looking for evidence in the text. Always, always, always support your answers. So for all the parents listening out there, if a child chooses an answer, ask them to tell you why they picked it. If they can tell you why that answer is correct and the other answers are wrong, then that usually means their understanding of the skill is more solid. If they truly have, well, I'm not sure as to why this is right, I just think it is, as their answer, then reach out by all means, let me know which question you're on, and maybe I can post a quick video reviewing the skill. We don't want to leave anybody behind just because we're not in school with one another anymore. So, moving along, it's also really important that, yes, you are answering the questions in your packets, but also that you are getting in that hour a day of reading. I don't care if it's 2 hours or 2 steps, in the morning and 2 steps in the afternoon, like what it's traditionally done, or whether you sit down and you read for an hour in the middle of the day for quiet time after lunch. How you get your hour is up to you, but we want to make sure that you are still engaging in reading for an hour. In fourth grade, it is so important that you spend time reading books and not just graphic novels. They are fantastic. I love graphic novels. Reading recipes, also important. Reading poetry, I love it. But I am looking to make sure that each of you are reading a chapter book, a novel, at least for an hour a day, so that you can practice some of these great skills that I'm about ready to tell you about, to remind you of what good readers do to increase their learning. And these are things that you can do in school. These are things that you can do out of school. These are things you can do with a parent. These are things you can do by yourself. These are things you can do with a teacher. You kind of get the idea here. These are things that it doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing, you can still practice these. Also, at the very end, we're going to talk about how we can maybe apply these things to movies that you're watching or television shows. Because if you can apply these skills to reading, then you can apply it to other areas in life. So, without further ado, I'm going to show you our chart of some of the things that good readers do, because reading is essentially thinking. So hang on just a second, I'll get this moved over. Oh, okay. So, as it says up here, reading is thinking. We are looking at making sure that our brains are engaged as we are reading in our books. It's not enough just to make sure that we are saying the words the right way. We want to really engage with the text and get as much meaning from it as we possibly can. So some of the things that good readers do. Good readers summarize. They're looking for what is happening with the characters, how is the setting changing, and the big events that happen every single time they read. Good readers look for the conflict and the resolution of a conflict. Every story has characters that face problems. Those conflicts are what move the story on from one piece to the next. They essentially help move forward. It keeps things interesting. Usually there is a major conflict that characters face, but there's a whole lot of minor conflicts that are going on as well. But we don't want to just leave characters wallowing in a problem. We want to make sure that we are looking to see the resolution as well, how those characters overcome or solve their problems. And this is going to be a quick thing, but we will go through later on and kind of try to elaborate more on these as the coronacation goes on forward. But moving right along, give you a couple other things that I want to see you do. As you're reading, make sure that you're looking for new words or phrases that you use in different ways or that you don't use every single day. It is so important that as you are reading, you are picking up more words and adding them to your vocabulary. Use your context clues to figure out what those new words mean in the context of the way they're used for your books. Make connections. This one is something that anybody can do, whether you're 5, whether you're 50, whether you are 15, or anywhere in between. Making connections. Try to think of what the story will remind you of. As you're reading, if you hear in your book, or if you read in your book that the character hummed as she walks down the hallway, what does that remind you of? Does that remind you of a person in your life who hums? Does it remind you of music? Does it remind you of a specific song? Does it remind you of a character in another book or in even a movie? But make those connections. Try to anchor what it is you're reading now to something that you have experienced in your past. Also, we're looking at inferencing and drawing conclusions. We are using the text that's in our story, using the information from the text and your schema to figure out something that the author doesn't tell you. We'll get a little bit more involved with inferencing and conclusion another time, but I want to make sure that you are asking those questions to yourself, that you are going beyond what a sentence says to understand more, because writers, don't have the ability to tell you every single little detail. They have to trust that you are activating that schema, that you are using what you know to really engage in the text to make it a little bit more meaningful. And last but not least, you want to ask and answer questions as you're reading. This is where skills like predictions are going to come into place. What do you wonder? What is something that you wish the author would clarify? And what does the text remind you of? We are looking at asking questions as you read. Sometimes great questions will lead you like, well, I wonder what that word means. Let's take a look and see if we can engage in there. How in the world is the character going to solve this conflict they find themselves in? Or I wonder if anybody else made the connection to the movie The Incredibles. So as we're reading, make sure that you are utilizing good thinking skills that go along with it. We want to make sure that we're summarizing, looking for the conflict and resolution, that you're growing your vocabulary, you're making those connections. We are practicing inferencing and drawing conclusions, and we are asking and answering questions at all times. It's not enough to just read the words. We want to understand and really love the story. So, once again, I love you. I miss you. I cannot wait to see your shining faces after we get back from all of this ick and craziness that's going on. Please stay safe. And today's challenge, I would love to see it if everybody could find a way to read in an unusual place. Whether you're reading with a flashlight underneath the table, with a fort of blankets around you, whether you're reading in a hammock outside, are you reading in the car as you're driving someplace? Are you reading at the doctor's office? But have a book with you at all times. Try to find something to make your reading a little bit more interesting, a little bit more different. We don't have my table to hide under right now, so you're going to have to find cool places of your own to find a magical spot to help you really focus on your reading skills and have them come alive. I love you, I love you, I love you, and we are going to get through this together. Bye, guys.